A blowout. He
Yeah.
looks like he's had a blowout.
Yeah, give him a blowout and make everybody know that. And that, you know what? He gets angry. Anytime he has to run, he should say, they're ruining my hair. Or when he gets wet, that's what drives him insane.
Thanks, Big D. You just made Dick Tracy. Maybe we can get Warren Beatty to do it.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass.
Welcome back to Shat the Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when we were growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you know what Blockbuster Video is? If you answered yes, then this is the podcast for you. I am one of your hosts, Gene Lyons, and alongside me are my co-hosts, Ash Razorman Peterson.
Hi, y'all.
And Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
And each week we take a look back in time to decide if our favorite films still hold up. The movies we cover are chosen by you, the listeners, who generously commission the films you love. If you'd like to see all the movies we have covered, will cover, want to choose one for yourself, please visit shatpod.com and have a look. At the end of each podcast, we'll provide you, the audience, with the number of wipes each movie would take to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. It's how we help the podcast grow. Additionally, subscribe to our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review TV series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, Lovecraft Country, and Watchmen. Find all the information and past episodes at shatpod.com/TV. And finally, to hang out with us live, follow and subscribe to our Twitch channel, shatpod.com/Twitch, where we play video games, host watch parties, and edit this podcast live. All that being said, Big D, what movie are we reviewing tonight?
Gene, many times in the films we've reviewed, we cover very scary things. Serial killers, natural disaster, violence, dark, dark movies. But tonight, we're going to an even scarier place. And it was the inner city during the 80s and 90s. That's why we're very excited when one of our great listeners from all the way in New Zealand, Glenn, wrote in and asked us to review the 1993 crime thriller Judgment Night.
Kia ora, or hello, Shat crew. I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas and a happy New Year. I've been listening since the second or third episode after stumbling across your pod while looking for something to listen to during my commute to work. Over the last 6 years, you've been a constant source of enjoyment, and I appreciate all the work you put in making this awesome podcast happen. I finally decided after enjoying so much quality entertainment that I should commission a movie. Since I waited so long, most of the movies I would have commissioned have been done, so what to commission? Judgment Night was a movie that had a huge impact on my friends and I when it came out. The movie itself was just your average 90s action thriller, but the soundtrack was something else entirely. A collaboration of metal alternative artists and rappers, Slayer and Ice-T, Pearl Jam and Cypress Hill? Hell yeah. What more could a bunch of 16-year-old guys ask for in 1993? We basically wore this cassette tape out. Watching the movie recently, I found myself really enjoying it, but I think it was more about hearing those songs and reminiscing. The movie has some tension-filled moments, but the premise is fairly absurd. I'm not sure taking a wrong exit on the freeway would put you in such a perilous situation. Although I must admit, thinking about this movie when driving on the freeways in LA and New York. For me, this is a 3-wipe movie, but a 0-wipe soundtrack. Cheers, Glenn from New Zealand. P.S. If any of you ever make it to the South Island of New Zealand, make sure to get in touch.
Well, Judgment Night is a 1993 crime thriller starring Emilio Estevez, Cuba Gooding Jr., Jeremy Piven, and Stephen Dorff as a group of friends on the run from a gang of drug dealers led by Denis Leary after they witness a murder. Actors who turned this movie down included John Travolta, Kevin Spacey, Ray Liotta, Tom Cruise, Samuel L. Jackson, and Christian Slater. And comedian Adam Carolla was a stand-in for one of the bad guy actors, Michael Wiseman. So Big D, Ash, we always ask where you were and what your memories are of the movie. Tonight is Judgment Night. Big D, we'll start with you.
I honestly do not remember the first time that I saw this. I remember it being at Blockbuster, but the cover art made it seem like a lot. Like there was a movie called Trespass with Ice-T and Cuba Gooding Jr. The covers are similar. It's dark. It looks like it's going to be people wandering into the city, but I never saw it. And I think partially it's because I'm not a huge Emilio Estevez fan. So I just never felt the desire to rent it. I've probably seen half of the Mighty Ducks. And if I'm thinking about Emilio Estevez, I know that we've done Breakfast Club, obviously. The Young Guns, we're going to do part 2 coming up. I did Repo Man, Maximum Overdrive. But other than that, I do not remember any Emilio movies. So this was not on my must-see list.
Yeah, I mean, we know how I feel about him, so I've never seen this before, but I was definitely open to it, despite him being in it. But I gotta tell you, a young Cuba Gooding and a young Jeremy Piven, that kind of had me sold.
Like Glenn, I got into this movie because of the music. And this is just among many movies I saw strictly because of the soundtrack in the 90s. There was Above the Rim, Higher Learning, The Matrix, and other bands that were in this. I mean, House of Pain, Sonic Youth, De La Soul, Onyx, Sir Mix-a-Lot, Del the Funky Homo Sapien. Like, you put them all on an album together, I'm going to see that movie. And we got to remember, back in 1993, other than Rage Against the Machine, we really hadn't been exposed to much rap rock crossover at the time. This was like a big deal at my junior high school. And I remember going out and seeing it in the theater, although I don't recall how I got there at 13, but Big D, like you, I was part of a ring of kids who could get each other in the theater. So that's probably how it happened. I remember thinking it was absolutely badass, thinking if I had been there in that situation, I would have gotten through just fine because me and my friends were so tough. Now looking back on it, I agree, because I would have just been really, really quiet and survived.
But did you have the soundtrack before you saw it, or did the movie make you go buy the soundtrack?
Oh, sir. I believe I just had a tape of the soundtrack off of the soundtrack. But yes, I did have it first.
Huh, okay.
Let's get to some of that music and hit the trailer.
Nobody is taking dates. It's a bunch of guys going to a boxing match. That's it. Why are you looking at me like that?
Because I know you're friends. They're the hormones of high school kids.
I'll be home early, okay?
Promise?
What do you say, fight fans?
A night out on the town. A heavy traffic jam.
I'll tell you something, I'm not going to miss this fight.
And one wrong turn.
We've circled this block about 300 times.
Yeah, enough of this scenic route.
What the hell was that?
He's been shot.
They're coming after me. You gotta get me out of here. Back off.
We can't just sit here, kid.
Come on.
They got guns, John.
You broke rule number 1. Do not steal from me. Oh, boys, rule number 2, no witnesses.
Come on! Oh, let's go, go, go! Where the hell are we?
What are we gonna do?
What do you think of the neighborhood?
The cops are gonna be here any second. The cops are not coming.
What's up? You punks crazy or something, man?
Chill out, man. We're just looking for some citizens.
Don't move. Don't whisper. Don't even breathe.
These guys don't give up.
Oh, Frank, is this your wife, huh?
I get a wife and a little girl, and I will get back to them tonight.
Let's show these punks what we got.
You better believe.
Leary.
No, Frank, after I kill you, I think I'm going to pay a little visit on that wife of yours.
Judgment Night.
You coming?
Frank Wyatt, his brother John, and their friends Mike and Ray take a road trip in Ray's luxurious RV to watch a boxing match in Chicago. With the freeway gridlocked, Ray cuts through a neighborhood. He accidentally runs over a man named Teddy, but doesn't want to alert the police. The friends help Teddy into the RV and discover he has been shot and has a paper bag filled with money.
So here's the thing. I understand that this came out like at a totally different time than The Hangover, like that was years later. But this felt like I was watching that in the first 15 minutes. I mean, think about it. You got your committed guy. He's in a relationship with a nagging wife, which is Stu. You got your kind of cool guy in Cuba, which, is kind of like Bradley Cooper. You got the guy that the nagging wife like loves to hate on and calls immature and drives up doing something completely stupid and pointless, Piven. And then you get the uninvited family member, which here is Dorff as opposed to Galifianakis. And because of that, like, I don't know about y'all, but like this felt like a comedy until Teddy was introduced. And I was really confused because it makes this massive tonality shift that didn't make sense to me.
Okay, I'll admit that I'd seen this movie before, so maybe that comedy angle didn't occur to me because I know how it turns out. But I felt, Ash, that there was a sort of a Lynchian undertone during the entire intro to this movie. There's the unhappy marriage, the suburban slow motion with just that darkness seething right under the soil, the crazy friends. I felt like it was a very uncomfortable opening that didn't feel anything like a comedy.
No, Ash, I think you're right. For me, it felt familiar. It felt the opening was almost the same. The car pulls up. We get to meet them all. You get the nagging wife. We're getting to see how safe suburbia is. Look, the wife can sit with the baby out on the front porch. When I saw that baby, I was like, okay, we're going to get into the city and we're going to know that's not a place that you can have a baby outside. You would have that baby inside locked up.
Well, as you mentioned, not being a huge fan of Emilio Estevez and being a fan of Jeremy Piven, I've never really had a problem with either of them. I'm kind of lukewarm on both. But given the archetypes they're playing in this movie, as you described, I immediately wanted a casting change. So for the wackadoo friend with the RV who wants everyone to have a good time, but he's sketchy as fuck, I want Jeremy Piven out. I want Nick Cage circa like Gone in 60 Seconds, Nick Cage, right? Right in there driving the RV. And then Big D, hear me out on this one. You take out Emilio Estevez, the badass who's matured but can still kick ass if he needs to, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, and I'm going to guess then we're not going to explain his accent.
Absolutely not.
We're going to see the boxing match. Get in the RV. It doesn't make sense. I wanted Gary Oldman because I felt that Fallon, I complain all the time that we get a lot of villains that, you're talking about Lynchian, where we had Blue Velvet, where he wasn't frightening. I didn't fear him. To me, Fallon was dropping one-liners. He was thinking it was funny. I wanted Gary Oldman when he played in The Professional, Stanfield. That was frightening. That even I would take Drexel from True Romance. Get that on edge. You can't quite pin him down, but there really is something unhinged underneath the surface.
I don't know. I'm going to disagree and say that I think it's kind of spot on. Like, I love them. I thought they were perfect. And what's strange is like, I expected it to like feel aged in some way because of how much older they are now. But like, it didn't to me. I thought it completely worked. Like even Emilio, I can't believe I'm saying it, but even him.
I can't believe that the same people that thought Miklo wasn't believable in Blood In, Blood Out think that Emilio Estevez is believable here as Frank. He's tiny. He's not intimidating. Nobody in this movie knows how to fight. There's a scene where Cuba Gooding Jr. like gets the guy in the truck on the highway and he like pins his arm behind his head. And I did it to myself just to check if that would do anything. It doesn't. It's just like it's a mild stretch. I don't know who did the fight choreography in this, but none of it was believable.
No, but this version of Frank, this is Frank post-domestication. So I think Emilio...
So he shrank?
Well, he's got the hair kind of like pushed over and he's very Dudley Do-Right. Mm-hmm. And I thought he was perfect for this because he reminded me of Michael J. Fox, of like Michael, I don't know what his role was in Family Ties, but like that buttoned up conservative. I couldn't buy the tough guy either, but that's not who he is.
His role in Family Ties was teenager.
Yeah,
he was a kid. He wasn't some guy with a tough past that cleaned himself up.
A teenage Republican in a Democratic family.
Yes, but
if Emilio Estevez was going for that, I guess, yeah.
No,
mission accomplished.
This was his soft version. I think he would not have been able to pull off the tough, intimidating fighter that we're led to believe. But this theme is so common. And I started thinking about other movies that we've done where you get suburban characters together. And the city was like this big thing to be feared. There was danger, undoubtedly. Anytime you would pull in, whether it was the Griswolds on vacation and they pull into St. Louis, and it looks like Beirut. It looks like it looks like Escape from New York when Snake Plissken lands on the Twin Towers. It is a real thing that people must have been afraid because Adventures of Babysitting took a comedic look at the same thing. You're going to go into Chicago, you're suburbanites, you're not going to be prepared what you're going to see. And I can't believe how common the theme was.
I don't know. I think it's one of two things. Maybe it's just like real when it comes to road rage, because we had just another road rage incident the other day where somebody cut somebody off in traffic. There's something about Interstate 45. There is something about it that people shoot people on Interstate 45, which I don't get because Interstate 45 is not anywhere near as frustrating as Interstate 610, but nobody shoots people on 610. They shoot them on 45. So like the road rage stuff like totally makes sense to me. Or it could also be that like there's just like an audience that's afraid of big cities that are older, because like think about my dad. My brother just got him tickets to go see Frankie Valli at the Sanger Theater in New Orleans, and like he won't go unless parking is paid for because now he's terrified to go into parts of the city. So it's like people above 55 or just like Texas. That's where the fear comes from.
Something completely happens to people. They change. My father, we had the hurricane. And my friend Jeff lent me his generator. And my father goes, do you have that thing chained up? I'm like, why? Oh, somebody's going to come steal it. Those are in high demand when there's a disaster. I said, it's running the lights in the house. I'm pretty sure if somebody unplugs the generator, I'm going to know. But he's afraid of everything, afraid of traveling, any of the places we go. He let me go into New York City at 18 until like 2 or 3 in the morning. We would go to the Yankee games, ride the subway alone. But yet today, he thinks the city, anything near it, is just crime-ridden, and I'm going to be murdered, and Emma's going to be murdered.
My mom was the same way when I moved to Chicago. And I was in Logan Square. I was on the north side, fairly safe part of Chicago. I mean, there was, general crime, but nothing more than you get anywhere else. And she was absolutely terrified. And as a Chicagoan, I can speak to the risks in this movie. It is an exaggeration for sure of the rough parts of Chicago. But that fear, like Ash was saying, whether it's a fear of being carjacked or a fear of being like out of your element, that's very relatable. When I first moved to Chicago, within the first a couple months, I flew Southwest from Phoenix back to Midway in the middle of the night. I was working as a copy editor. I was pretty broke, so I didn't have enough money for like a cab. I don't think Uber even existed at the time. And so I thought I would just hop on the L and ride it home to Logan Square from Midway. What I didn't know is that the orange line doesn't run 24/7 like the blue line. And so I had a suitcase. I got like booted out of the airport, and I've got like a mile to walk through the South Side to get to the bus stop. I go to the bus stop and I realize that the buses aren't stopping for me. They just keep rolling by, which was a very real scene in Judgment Night that freaked me the fuck out and brought back some really bad memories. But finally I got a bus, and then I had to make a transfer. I rode like 60 stops with the scariest people. And the driver was like, what the fuck are you doing? Look around. And this is a noticeable thing. I've talked about it before. The complexion of the people on the bus changes as it travels. And I was definitely out of my element, and it was fucking terrifying.
But here's my thing is that I don't know what there is to be afraid. Other than the guns that we see from Fallon and his gang, and maybe the one that Ray has, the group that's on the basketball court, they don't even have guns. There's nothing really to be afraid of, but we're knowing we're in the inner city because there is newspapers blowing around everywhere, just blowing. That doesn't happen today, I guess, Gene, because newspapers are dead. But there's burn barrels everywhere. And there's like this mysterious like fog or smoke that's going around. Gene, back when you lived there, were there abandoned cars that look like they've been burned on every single street corner? How accurate is it?
Not burned and not on every single street corner. But yeah, there were lots, like in Pilsen in particular, you would see cars that no longer had wheels. They were just kind of there. I think people were living in them probably some of the time, or people used them as trash cans. So it's a bit of an exaggeration, but hey man, that's Hollywood.
But are the streets completely abandoned, or would there be at least a couple people milling around?
Oh no, they would be lined with other cars, and there would be people milling around. Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
But Gene, I've been to Chicago once.
Yeah.
And it took me about an hour to realize you do not want to drive in Chicago.
No.
They have mass transit. So the idea of getting an RV to drive from suburban Chicago into the city and try to get a parking spot, it is like they're trying to get stuck. They have a big bullseye on them saying, hey, we're from the suburbs. Everybody look at us.
I just can't believe that fucking Ray shows up and he's like, guys, I got this RV. I got booze. We got satellite dish and all this shit. And didn't think maybe I should show up 2 hours earlier. It's better to be prompt than flashy.
Agreed.
Well, the RV is sideswiped by a car, leaving it lodged in a narrow alleyway. 3 killers, Sykes, Rhodes, and Travis, break in through the RV's window and drag Teddy outside. Fallon, a local crime lord, executes Teddy for stealing his money and tells his men to kill the 4 witnesses. The friends flee and hide in a rail car filled with houseless men. Frank, John, Mike, and Ray give the homeless their valuables to keep them quiet, but they're soon discovered. Fallon shoots and kills one of the houseless people, mistaking him for Mike.
Okay, so we've already talked a little bit here about Frank, and it's clear Frank has changed. Frank used to have a dark past. He would be violent. He would fight. He was the tough guy. That was not too far in the past. However, now 2 years later, he has been domesticated. He's got a new baby, and he has become a feckless, like, shell of his prior self. He is a domesticated beta male. He's sitting there like, honey, I promise we're going to be good. I know we're not going to have any trouble. And she's just browbeating him. And I know firsthand that marriage changes people. But it's cringe the way he's become Mr. Rogers. He's lecturing everybody about how to live their lives. Mike, don't encourage him, to his brother when his brother's acting like a tough guy to road rage. John, that macho shit's going to get crazy people and they're going to come around here and hurt you. They've got guns. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? What is he doing in this situation? He's on some moral high horse lecturing, hey, we got to go out there and save him. No, you don't have to go out there and save him, Frank. So he just seemed too Dudley Do-Right. And it was just so obvious that they needed him to be soft, and he plays that part perfectly.
I don't know. Like, he didn't come off as domesticated as much as like that self-righteous like dad figure, like where he's like that worst type of guy who gets a family and makes this decision that because he has a family that not only is he wise, but he's better than everybody else, when really he's just like a huge liability, right? Because you got that scene where he looks at Dorff and he, you know, and then he's like, you're not his dad. You got to remember, you're not his dad, right? So, but you know, you get him and he thinks he knows it all and he's cooler than everybody else. Now, I will admit, lighting the car on fire, smart, but then how the hell do you lose your wallet and like give him like a whole picture to your entire like existence? Like, he sucks.
I would like to change my vote from Schwarzenegger to Swayze. What you needed is Patrick Swayze from Roadhouse.
Totally agree. There's a dark past. Mm-hmm. I didn't need to see Dalton out there being the best cooler in the South. There was an inherent like violence that he was containing. Emilio doesn't have a violent bone in his body.
Yeah, he's not tearing anybody's throat out.
No, he's rolling off a roof and getting into a barrel. That's the most like violent thing he does.
Excuse me, sir. It was a chest.
Oh, it was a chest. You're right.
It was a chest. Very modestly sized chest. But I do have to say, I was surprised by the execution scene. Like, it was intense. And I loved getting to hear Denis Leary's voice. He's got such a great accent. You know, you hear him and he's all scary and he's intense and his face is lit up a little bit, you know, and you kind of can't see him. He's only in profile. But then he shoots the dude, like, in the face. And it was a huge moment that shifted everything. And I'm digging it. And I'm like, okay, I'm getting this film. I'm getting it. And then they go and they fucking ruin it because they legit did a screen grab, up close shot of each and every one of these four dudes with their surprised faces and the echo of the gunshot. And it's almost like you can hear like the director in the background going, okay, Cuba, Emilio, you know, like one by one. And Cuba's arguably is the best, right? His is ridiculous. I was cracking up and the momentum totally got lost for me.
Okay, so now I'm going to admit I'm slightly domesticated than my prior version when I got married 20 years ago, but I don't think it makes me soft necessarily. If I'm in the RV, we're all there, and I see an execution's going down, the last thing I'm going to be doing is like, hey, everybody, look over there at the execution. Let's let them know we're paying attention. I'm going to look away. I don't need to watch this. I'm going to make myself a target. I'm sorry, drug dealer, if you're going to get executed in the street. I'm not going to stop that, but I don't need to become a witness.
Okay, but if they tell you stay right there, do you stay right there or do you try to get the fuck out of there?
Leave.
Yeah, split up. It's like if a bear's chasing you, right? You don't got to be the fastest dude. You just can't be the slowest. They're going to get maybe one of them.
Are we going to get another Big D bear fact?
Yeah, if it's brown, lay down. If it's black, fight back. That's why I guess I'd have to fight back here. But yeah, I would run away. Gun,
start to run.
Yeah, start to run. What are they going to do? Are they going to sit there and drop one-liners and intimidate this guy about his money and then shoot him? Or are they going to chase you? That way you're not watching. Hey, if you guys want to shoot him, I'm cool. I'm going to go later. I don't even know who you are. I'm not watching this.
Yeah, maybe the hint that they were going to shoot him is that they already shot him. Like, you don't even have to doubt, will these guys shoot this guy? Yeah, they will. They already did it.
I'm gone. I'm out of here.
Bye.
Yeah, totally. And I had to remind myself, Cuba Gooding Jr. has won an Academy Award. His performance and his character in this movie is all over the place. He starts out, he's introduced as like the playboy friend, the ladies' man. He can't even go 30 seconds without parking his car that he's getting hit on. He's over leaning in, talking to the ladies. Then he shifts to kind of the loyal friend. And then out of the blue, he shifts, and I understand, like, he shifts into a violent state. It's fight or flight when he kills the bad guy. Okay, that was justified. But then he goes into like some unexpected dark place that he's shooting at a bus full of innocent people. Did he think that was going to make the bus drivers stop and pick them up? Then I'm thinking this is going to become a big like thread where he's going to become a loose cannon. He's going to just go unhinged. They're going to have to pull him back. No. He just immediately flips right back to like, hey, loyal friend. And he ends up at the end of the movie becoming like some goofball joking. Hey, I'll see you at the Bears game. You're so silly, Frank. You know what? Ray just got killed. You just had a traumatic event. And his performance has been all over the place.
Now, I mean, in his defense, Ray sucked. Like, he was terrible, right?
You got to pretend, though. You got to pretend.
It was pretty awful. But he was so bad. And, like, you can't even blame it on the fact that he, like, got better later. Because compare this to his performance in Boys in the Hood, and, like, it's not even close. He's so good in that movie. It was like, Ricky! Like, I feel for him every time. Here, he's so terrible. And when Ray goes flying and then like he just comes out shooting like sideways gun style, dumb as fuck.
I've got a theory on this one though, because toward the end of the movie, when he's running after the bus, I noticed that he's in cowboy boots and he'd been running around Chicago in cowboy boots for like an hour running for his life. I imagine that's going to make you act a little weird. Like I would go through those same highs and lows where at first I'm kind of the Playboy ladies man and then the loyal friend. And then I get kind of dark and I want to shoot somebody. And then once I'm off my feet and I'm on a stretcher, I'm feeling a little bit better. I can crack some jokes. I think this makes sense. But the movie does this really cool thing where there's a blackmail scene, and it wasn't something that I anticipated. Speaking of blackmails, that wasn't something I anticipated, which was they go into this rail car and there are people living in that rail car, and they manage to kind of rob the guys based only on offering them their silence. Because although Jeremy Piven has a gun and although the rest of them are in fairly good shape and they might be able to kick some ass, and these houseless guys look pretty rough, all they have to do is make a noise and Fallon's going to find them. So they hand over their wallets and their jewelry, and that sort of makes sense because fighting or shooting them is going to make too much noise. But it establishes that silence has a value in this movie, and that value is extreme, where you would give up your clothing, your money, your jewelry, your wedding ring, all that stuff to keep quiet. But then after this scene, Frank, Mike, John, and Ray spend the rest of the movie yelling, loudly arguing when nobody is going to find them otherwise, and audibly just breaking shit. I kept yelling at the TV screen like, shh. They should have just called it like, shh, the movie.
Gene, Chicago is full of like empty cardboard boxes for you to run and kick and stumble. There's more glass broken in this film than in Needful Things. And they're not just screaming. You get Mike on the microphone when they're in the RV. SOS, SOS, help us. Is he on a boat? What is Mike doing? And they're not only just yelling like unnecessary things, Gene. It's always accompanied by, hey, Frank, what are you doing? Why is Mike with you, Frank? Hey, John, come over here and get Ray. We're going to go down that alley. You're telling everyone within like a 2 square mile block exactly where you are, what you're doing, how many of them you are. And that is not the only mistake. You pull into this area, turn off the damn lights. It looks like a suburban fishbowl. There's windows and they're like up against the glass. It looked like kids at the aquarium, like looking at all the sea life. It was embarrassing when they start talking to the people on the street. They're doing so many things. It's almost as if they're trying to get themselves killed. If they were just quiet and laid down, or even Gene, when all the houseless or homeless people run out, just blend in. Mike, take off your Gap vest. And you could have been one of the local people. Take off your boots and just lay down. They're not going to find you. They don't remember you. There's no sketches or photos. Just become some nondescript member of the community.
You know, it's so funny that you say the aquarium thing, because the big vans that they take people through on the Katrina tours in the Lower Ninth Ward, this is exactly what they look like. It's like, oh, look at all the blight. Look at all the poor people and the people who lost everything in 2005. Like, and it's so gross. And that is exactly what this reminded me of.
In the favelas in Rio, they have a deal. Like normally people don't go into the favelas, but the drug dealers have set up because they know tourism's kind of important. You can do a tour of it. And I was like, hell no. Why am I going to be there? Like you said, like a human aquarium or like a human zoo. I would feel just dirty doing that. But these clowns are yucking it up and drinking and taunting people. I half believe they deserve to get what they got.
The 4 friends hide in an apartment building and convince a resident to call the police, but Fallon goes door to door terrorizing the occupants. The 4 friends learn there's an escape route to another building via the roof. They use a ladder to cross over an alley onto the other rooftop, but are pursued by Fallon and his men. Ray stays behind and tries to bribe his way out. Fallon, disgusted by Ray's tactics and privileged upbringing, throws Ray from the roof, killing him.
So we're led to believe here when we meet Fallon, he's played by Denis Leary. He's supposed to be the unstable. He's a drug kingpin, or at least like a gang leader. But as far as I can tell, there's only 4 members of his gang. He is supposed to be like well known, but yet people in the neighborhood have not heard of him. He needed to have a more extensive network of people working for him to truly be like a criminal that I would be afraid of their reach. You go into the projects and people say, we're not helping you. No way. Fallon will kill us. Nobody says that because nobody knows about him. I think that they needed to just stand up against him. It was an even number. It was 4 on 4. It wasn't like they were running for their lives in Escape from New York. Stay in one place, stay quiet, and you'll stay safe, or even split up. That way, at least you're going to get away. But they do everything possible to get caught and stand out. You only know, hey, it's the 3 white guys and the black guy dressed up like a Gap cowboy. If you spread apart and you just lay down, they're not going to be able to tell which guy's which.
Also, like, I'm confused as to why he's doing the dirty work. Like, if he's the boss, why is he chasing them down? Like, wouldn't he have people who would do this for him?
I think we got a hint during that speech that he gave to Ray, though. Like, he's a hard worker. He's not a privileged suburbanite. He's a man of the people. So Fallon does his own dirty work. Like, he likes to have his finger on the pulse of the streets. I figured Fallon's not that big a crime boss. He's kind of like the Paulie Walnuts of Chicago. Like, he's just got a little crew that he runs with, and that's really it. So it fits in quite perfectly. And Big D, yeah, it's 4 on 4, but 4 of them have guns.
But it doesn't matter. You have a gun. Ray's got a gun. That's a mistake number 1, that you don't tell them, hey, I've got it. And then what you do is just back yourself into an area that you can stay secure and defend one entrance and wait for daylight. You're not out in the middle of the desert. You're not out someplace where you're isolated. You just have to, we're going to assume that this abandoned city, Chicago, will come to life in the morning. Then you blend in with whatever crowds are out there. But instead, we play hide and seek for 90 minutes.
Well, they don't have a judgment week. They only have a judgment night.
Yes, that's very true. But it's hide and seek for 90 minutes. And all Fallon needed to do was one thing. He could have ended this within 20 feet of that burning camper. He has the wallet because later on he warns him. He says, you're not getting away because I know where you're going. 1922 Deadwood Drive. Once he found the wallet, he's got the trump card. He can end it. All he has to do is say, hey, Frank, I'm going to give you a choice. If you do not come out in 30 seconds, I am going to your house right now and I'm going to kill your wife and daughter. These guys can't get out of the city, let alone get back home to the suburbs. At that point, Frank, who is the family man, who is the Dudley Do-Right, he has no choice but to come out and surrender. At that point, you put him at gunpoint and you leverage the other ones to come out. You kill them all. The movie is over. Why not play that trump card?
Perhaps Fallon's car wouldn't make it that far. It looked pretty rough. And I can't believe he just left it running, like in the street. Like, Fallon's car is getting jacked in that neighborhood for sure. But perhaps he was afraid that not actively pursuing Frank's crew would give them time to find a phone, and then they would call the cops, and the cops would get there first. It's too risky a play. And again, Fallon likes to have fun. He's into this cat and mouse. It's entertainment for him.
So bluff him. Say, hey, Everlast, go out there. Go to the suburbs, get the wife. I'm pretty sure, Gene, if I found your wallet and I'm out there and I'm a drug kingpin and I said, hey, come out or I'm going to go home and I'm going to go pay your mother a visit. What do you do?
Is that Everlast comment the fucking like from House of Pain or
That's
whatever?
who it is. That's Everlast. He's the
That's
bad
him?
guy. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, that was Everlast.
There's 2 things I learned tonight. That was Everlast, and also that was Stephen Dorff.
See, but I also think that it's really pointless, though, to like go get her, because I think people forget how giant Chicago is. Like, where they are is like 45 minutes from where he's living. And so, like, why would he go get him and then make his way all the way back? And then, like, it's going to be judgment morning. And then it's like, you know, judgment arraignment because you've been arrested. And like, it's like, there's no way. Like, that's a dumb play, too.
Big D, did you see that traffic?
All you have to do is threaten them. You kidding me? Frank would have come out and been like, no, don't do it. Don't
take my wife who nags me with my newborn baby.
Or he might
be like, fuck yeah.
He might have been like, oh, okay. Yeah, go do that for me. Just
see you later, guys.
Go just leave the baby. Leave my daughter. Take my wife.
So we've established Frank and his boys, they're terrific at running. They're terrific at making a lot of noise and calling each other by name so everyone can hear them. One thing they're not good at is getting help from strangers. So they go into this rundown apartment building that they find. The lights are on. They know there are residents in there, and they're going there to get help. It's a pretty large building, multiple floors. It seems like someone is bound to help them up. What do these guys do? One, they go door to door with 4 fucking dudes in the middle of the night, banging on doors. They're all sweaty. They look, rough. Then each person that they do encounter, do they ask them to call 911? No. They say, let us in your apartment so we can use your phone. I won't even do that in my neighborhood. If someone banged on my door and said, please call 911, I would do that. If someone banged on my door and said, let me in so I can use your phone, I'd say, fuck no. And then these are just apartments. Your life is on the line. Kick the fucking door down. Who cares?
Yeah, so first of all, they'll let me use your phone. Somebody stopped me the other day at Renfest and was like, hey, can I use your phone? And I was like, no.
That's not period.
Like, well, not only is it not period, like, I'm assuming that somehow you're going to find my info and then come kill me, because I've seen enough Criminal Minds episodes to know that's what you're going to do. But secondly, like, I think this is a lot of privilege on these guys' parts to assume that these people want to call the police in the first place, or like even like trust the police. And it's my favorite part of the movie, Training Day, right? Denzel Washington. They show how real that is, this fear of the police. And y'all, this neighborhood would have no interest in them showing up, like, at all.
But on that note, if they aren't into having police around, then you would figure they're into self-policing and self-defense. I was shocked that nobody in this apartment building had a gun. Fallon and his dudes are just banging on doors, dragging people out, going into places where clearly there's like multiple people who are like getting high. Like, I'm surprised one of them didn't get shot right there. That could have been the end of the movie.
This is the safest Chicago I've ever seen. I guess when Obama came in is when all the guns flooded into Chicago. There's nobody, but these guys are showing their suburban privilege. They believe that these people in the building have faith in the system. What makes you think that the people in this building are going to be like, yep, the police will come and help us? No, they know better. But I was glad. After the string of movies we've done here with questionable choices that they have for African-American actors, I half expected to be like, hey, Mike, you go up and talk to them. You go up and the white guys will hide here. You're one of them. Thankfully, they didn't do that.
That's not a bad idea.
Have him be a little more like Thug.
I didn't say thug, just black.
Yo, open the door. Yo, I'm Mike from down the hall. Open the door.
Jesus. Well, no, I do have to say it was a little ridiculous, though, the hallway scene where one of the women has a baseball bat and the other comes out with a butcher knife. Like, I mean, that was dumb. But speaking of dumb, I don't understand Ray. Ray is pretty stupid. Like, he goes out there, he thinks it's going to work, the schmarmy thing. Also, has Jeremy Piven always had a receding hairline? I didn't realize that.
Yes.
But you got him and he's stupid and you know he's going to get killed. But then the other dudes, they've made it across this, parkour course across the building, and they're now in safe, like a safe zone. They're not being shot at. They can get away. And they wait around while Ray negotiates? Like, do we really think that that's going to work? Like, anybody? That's a whole 10 minutes. You had to run away to get a head start. You use your idiot's decision to die, basically, and you live instead. And this is the problem with every zombie movie that has ever existed where people die stupid. They wait around to be like, oh, well, he's going to try to like go to his car and get his cell phone charger. And then he's eaten by the zombie. And I'm going to stand here and watch him go get his cell phone charger. And that's how the zombies are going to get into the house, right? It's the same thing here. We're going to watch this dude schmarm his way to death. And then we're going to wind up dead too.
Now, Ray isn't incredibly stupid for this move, because if it was a perfectly intact ladder and it was stretched across the alleyway, I would probably crawl across it. It was scary, but it was doable. When Frank's going across it, it fucking looks like it broke. I mean, that thing snapped and it was creaking a bit. If I had to take my chance between trying to talk my way out of it and offer $100,000 or go across that ladder, I would probably not do the ladder, either. I would just be like, hey, listen, I'm much more likely to survive these 4 dudes than that ladder.
But Ash, I have a question for you. As the non-gun owner of the group, you're going to speak for the suburban character here. Did you have any issue with the way that they used the gun? Any of their tactics? Did anything stand out to you that you would have done differently?
The bad guys or the
no,
supposed
the good guys. The good guys. Anytime the good guys got a gun, would you have
they
done something
wasted their
different?
bullets.
Thank you.
It was like they were playing like Halo and they were just shooting with unlimited bullets.
Yes, exactly. Because once you shoot all your bullets and they hear the clicking, now the bad guys know you're out of bullets. Come on, use as few rounds as necessary, get them close, and then the weapon has value. But with them just shooting from a distance on rooftops, what did they think they were going to accomplish? Nothing.
He was emotionally upset. Those were tears coming out of that gun.
That was just rage, right? That was just
judgment.
Night. The trio are chased into the sewers by Fallon and his henchmen. Mike shoots and kills Sykes, allowing them to escape. Fallon and Travis discover Sykes' body, and a comment made by Travis annoys Fallon, and he drowns Travis. The trio then break into Fullerton Market, hoping to summon the police by setting off the building's alarm, and they're arrested by 2 security guards. Fallon and Rhodes arrive and kill the guards as the trio hide in the store. Rhodes and Mike engage in a shootout that kills Rhodes but leaves Mike wounded. John retrieves Mike, but Fallon shoots John in the leg.
So by this point in the movie, I'm kind of rolling my eyes a little bit. Like, there's no way that Fallon constantly finds these guys this fast and this easy, unless he's got like a tracker on them that I don't know how he placed on them. Because like they get somewhere and I'm like, okay, the sewers make sense. Like, this is smart. This is a smart move. I'm finally like, this is good. And then like all of a sudden it's like, hey boys, and they're there. And it's the other thing too, like earlier in the film when Denis Leary's character all of a sudden has that line, it's like, I knew you would go to the rail yards. It's like, but how, right? Like it just feels like a little too much. And it got old and kind of ridiculous. As soon as like Piven goes all Peter Pan and falls off of the roof, from that point on, everything was way too convenient for me.
It does seem silly unless you consider Judgment Night a slasher flick. And that's the way I was viewing it, right? Frank's squad, that's the camp kids. Fallon is Jason Voorhees. And no matter where they hide, he's going to find them. And just like those camp kids in the Friday the 13th movies, these guys are loud, they make stupid decisions, and they all have those personality flaws that they have to confront or be taught a lethal lesson. And that's where the movie makes 2 crucial mistakes. I wish it would have embraced the full slasher formula. One is Frank should be the only survivor. He should lose everybody else. There should be no other survivors but Frank. And he should emerge hardened from the entire situation, right? And 2 is when Frank gets to the bottom of the stairs after Fallon falls like the 30 feet that kill him or whatever, gets to the bottom, Fallon's body isn't there. Where'd he go? We don't know. And just the wall that's left behind. That's a better movie.
Yeah, it's a much better movie, but instead we get, here comes Dudley Do-Right Beta Frank again. Mike, what's wrong with you? You can't do that. They're looking at him with disgust. He just saved your life. He took out one of the henchmen, and you guys want to go off on your own? And then we get a brotherly love thing. John's like, hey, thanks for having my back. No, it was Mike who had your back. Frank was swinging a stick. You had a pipe, and he manned up and took him out.
Okay, Frank was stuck with the stick. It's not like he chose the stick. That's what he got. That's a true leader and a true tough guy. Yeah, pipes, I'm taking the wooden stick that's been like floating in water. Is basically driftwood.
Oh, but it's the cleanest sewer I've ever seen. This was like the Goonies going down the water slide to One-Eyed Willie's wreck. This is like, whoa! No, I want a true sewer.
It's that famously clean Chicago water.
I don't know. I mean, they do this in Buffy too. There's like 19 different sewer scenes, and it's pretty famous how clean all the sewers are apparently in Sunnydale. It may be over a hellmouth, but the sewers are pretty damn clean.
Lady Hawk ain't got shit on Judgment Night. Ash, you mentioned Denis Leary being fantastic in this movie, and I agree. His accent, his delivery, I was so proud of him for not doing an okay. He brought enough Denis Leary to it to make it enjoyable. He still had a bit of toughness to him. There was one flaw in this performance, though, and it was a visual flaw. He was plenty fun. His voice is terrific. He took some really dumb lines and made them sound cool. But Denis Leary is trying to play a crime lord from the hard scrabble streets of South Chicago with perfect hair. It's beautifully blow dried. Every wisp of that hair was like highlighted by street lights in perfect order. And it gets momentarily wet in the sewer. And I'm like, oh, cool. Okay, they actually allowed his facade to crumble just slightly. But nope, as soon as he gets out of the sewer and he's topside, it springs back to perfect grandeur. And I know that Denis Leary is very proud of his trademark hair. He even tweets about how he's still got all of his hair and it's all his real hair and shit. But he's got to make sacrifices for the role. He could have worn a hat. He could have cut his hair. He could have just had it slicked back. This in itself deserves half a wipe.
He's really known for his hair?
Oh, yeah.
Really? He's not one that I think of.
It's pretty great when it's blown out like that. Like, you can tell he uses a round brush and a volumizer.
But then at least introduce it. Make him have like some nickname like Pretty Boy Fallon. Something where his trademark is the hair. Make it part of his mystique. You know, he's the toughest guy with wings. Or what do they call that, Ash, when you get the...
Polly walnuts.
No, when you blow
Wings,
dry.
What are
it
you
and
doing, like flock of seagulls?
No, like, like the Jennifer Aniston in Friends. Like where you get the layers and they blow it back. Make him have a style.
A blowout. He looks like he's had a blowout.
Yeah, give him a blowout and make everybody know that. And that, you know what? He gets angry. Anytime he has to run, he should say, they're ruining my hair. Or when he gets wet, that's what drives him insane.
Thanks, Big D. You just made Dick Tracy. Maybe we can get Warren Beatty to do it. Well, the three friends make their way to the bathroom where Frank tends to their wounds. Frank leaves to try to get help, but he spots Fallon, who is about to discover John and Mike. Frank shouts out, causing Fallon to search for him. A fight ensues where Frank ultimately overpowers Fallon and throws him off a ledge to his death. Police and paramedics arrive, taking Mike and John to a hospital where they're expected to survive their wounds. Frank then exits the building to his waiting wife. So, Ash, you mentioned earlier in the pod that Frank kind of showed us he's got a little MacGyver in him. He fucking torches the RV with booze and a towel and turns it into like a fucking Hindenburg. So when he makes his final stand at Fullerton Market, the movie's panning around the room and you see fucking butcher shops. There's a fucking sporting goods store. Yes. And I'm like, oh, we're going to get some sweet Home Alone action. There's going to be traps.
Yeah.
Did Frank face Fallon armed with a baseball bat? No. A golf club? No. Fucking, I was like, oh, bow and arrow. No. He went with a belt. A belt. He took his belt off and tried to choke a man who has a handgun. It's stupid.
Yeah, but it goes back to he's wanting to play the father role. I guess his father had taken the belt to him and John, and that's what he knows best. But this is like that insurance commercial where the people are out in the field and hiding. Let's go hide behind those chainsaws. No, okay, let's go hide in the attic or in that cemetery. These guys are getting away from everything that could provide them safety or even just hide in place. There's a bunch of locked cages. You can't really get around there freely. Just wait. The alarm's going off. Someone's going to find you again. We're fighting for, judgment daybreak here. But the biggest pile of shit, and I just screamed at the screen, is the cops. We get at the end, we're going to think it's the reveal that Fallon has survived his fall, which I don't even know if Frank was trying to help him again and play Dudley Do-Right, but whatever, he fell. The gun to the head, and we think, ooh, Fallon has survived. But no, it's the Chicago police, okay? They're responding to a break-in. There is bodies everywhere around. There's a break-in. We don't know what's been going on. There's been reports of gunshots, all these burned cars. Something's going on. The officer has Frank at gunpoint, and Frank says, oh, no, my friends, look, there's dead bodies. And all it took was another officer to come by and be like, yeah, he's telling the truth. There's bodies everywhere. And they go, oh, I guess what? He must be telling us the truth. And they let him go, Now, I'm not playing social justice warrior here, but this has to be because Frank is white. Frank is a suburban white guy saying he's innocent. He must be telling the truth because in 30 seconds, he's out of the handcuffs. He's walking around the crime scene. The police find the wallet and go, oh, you must have dropped this. No, buddy, that's evidence. Everybody would have been held at gunpoint until you could figure out what is going on. But the Chicago police, again, they're shit. They didn't go to Kevin McAllister's house to look for him. Here, more shoddy police work.
But that's thematically consistent with the movie. It's not at all counter to the overall mentality. These four men from the suburbs are afraid to spend one night in a neighborhood where other people actually live day to day. Women, children, feeble old people, right? It's like Roger in the Green Zone. there is this view that the movie is perpetuating, which is that there's us and them, and the cops are there to help you.
Well, and I have to say, like, the more ridiculous part for me was that they let him, like, roam around with the other victims. Like, he's, like, the dad going in to check in on the team as they're being loaded into the ambulance, right? And he's like, hey, like, don't worry, I'm going to stay home while you go to the game. Ha, 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 Cuba. And then he goes up to his brother and he's like, I'm too young for this shit. And he's like, don't worry, dude, you're going to be okay because I saved all your lives. Like, that was the problem I had, is they would have had him over for questioning. He wouldn't be roaming around, like, with his little Band-Aid on his neck, making sure that everybody was getting where they need to go.
I was half expecting him to start helping the police collect evidence.
Right.
To walk
Give me some
around
gloves.
Hey, Frank, your wife's here. Hey, bring her in. She can help us. We're going to walk around here.
Yeah, how did she get there so fast?
Who contacted her? You see
Fallon.
again? Or maybe he sent the fifth henchman and he got caught at Frank's house. And he said, hey, they're at the market. They came down. Again, makes no sense. But Ash, do you think the wife will be happy, or will she do an I told you so? You shouldn't have gone out with them.
I mean, that's all we needed. It was like that final yuck moment to like zoom in on her, like, like wagging her finger. Like, you see what happens when you go out with your boys.
And she'd have the baby, of course.
Yeah. It was terrible.
Well, now is the time of the podcast where we give our wipe score for Judgment Night. The Shat score is our way of telling you how many wipes this movie would take to get off your respective butts. 0 wipes is going to the boxing match with your 3 best buddies in a giant RV. And 5 wipes is an absolute disaster. It's getting stuck in a fight to the death in the sewer with only driftwood as a weapon. I'll go first. To appreciate this movie, as I said, you have to apply the same criteria as you would a slasher flick. The good guys are going to be dumber than usual. They're going to make loads of mistakes that leave you screaming at the screen. I took great joy in yelling at this movie. Line delivery is going to be stiff. It's going to be hammy. We saw that from the get-go with Emilio Estevez and his wife. People are going to die after being stabbed once, shot once, or falling off a 30-foot railing. And the sewers are going to be way cleaner than you'd expect. My biggest gripe was the movie's message, which was stay in the suburbs because the city is scary. Still, Judgment Night was fun. It kept my attention. I'm at 3 1/4 wipes.
So this movie's fine. It's not horrible. Like, I didn't fall asleep. I wasn't bored like I am in some films that we watch, but it really wears on you as you go. From the start to the apartment, it was fine. I was fine with it. I was enjoying it. But after that, Gene, you were talking about a slasher movie. For me, this is like a zombie movie where people make really bad decisions and therefore die really bad deaths. And also, and I know we didn't talk a lot about this, but for me, like, I didn't really care about any of these characters. I didn't care about them.
Good point.
I didn't care if they lived, if they died. Like, they weren't interesting. But again, it was fine. Like, it was better than some of the other stuff we've seen lately. So I'm going to go 3 1/2.
So this is one of the cases where when I first watched it, I texted Gene and I said, I think this is a 3.75 movie. He's like, wow, harsh. And I think with a couple days here to think about it and just talking with you two fine people as this movie's going on, I've started to lower it. I think I'm going to go with 3 wipes. And my reason is this. I was looking for this film to be like realistic, to depict what would people do, how would the police act, what would a villain act like, what would their motivation be? But that's not what this film is. This film is a full-length PSA. This is a warning to the suburban folks watching this film. You see, bad things are going to happen. Don't come in here. It wasn't supposed to be real because real would terrify them. This was enough of a warning to get people to stay in their Honda Accords on the highway. Don't come into the city. So as a PSA, it was entertaining. I think it was kind of funny. But Ash, you're 100% right. The flaw is we don't care about anybody. We're not invested. But it was entertaining. I just wish there was more action and it wasn't just running point to point to point. Introduce some more unique characters. Maybe a friendly homeless man that helps them along the way. Something like that. Other than that, it's just these 8 characters running around.
Now you're pitching Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
Again, the pigeon lady was great.
Just let the movie be what it is.
Yeah, the pigeon lady. We'll add the pigeon lady. That's a 2.75.
She's not the pigeon lady. That's so sad. She's awesome. She's the turtle dove lady.
She is. So for me, 3 wipes.
All right, with 3 wipes from Big D, 3 1/2 wipes from Ash, and 3 1/4 wipes from me, that gives us an average wipe score of 3.25 wipes for Judgment Night.
So Gene, with a score of 3.25 wipes, I always complain that all of these movies are like tied at some score. There's only one other film that has a 3.25. and that is Dirty Work. This is tied with Dirty Work in the 230 spot.
Yes. Totally makes sense.
Slightly better than Lost Boys and Caddyshack. How is that possible? I need to check the score. Oh, it was Roger.
Lost Boys.
And slightly worse than In the Army Now of Mice and Men and 16 Candles.
Listen, it's slightly worse than Of Mice and Men.
And that one was pretty bad.
Judgment Night is to action as Dirty Work is to comedy.
Oh, sorry. So Dirty Work, that was Gene, I think. Who did the 3 point? Oh, Ash did 3.7.
It was me. I hated that movie.
You didn't like the rape humor in prison, but yeah, I didn't
like the whole thing.
I don't think any of us like the rape humor part.
You did. Hey, that's just wrong. That's just wrong.
Oh my God.
Well, Glenn, thank you so much for commissioning Judgment Night. We hope the score was fair. We have some voicemail to get to before we close out tonight, and the first one comes from Teresa.
This is Teresa calling regarding your A Few Good Men podcast and the pencil skirts. First of all, pencil skirts are annoying. Like, you can't walk in them. If they're tight, they shift around. So you have the slit in the back, then all of a sudden they're on the side, then they're in the front, and you got to keep moving that around all day long. Mm-hmm. When you sit, when you walk, when you go up and down the stairs, you have to literally unzip the whole thing to be able to pee. Use the ladies' room. Depending on how tight it is, it starts rolling down your underwear. Mm-hmm. It bunches up your top, the shirt that you have on the top. Mm-hmm. So honestly, it's an inconvenience. I can't imagine anybody choosing a pencil skirt just for shits and giggles. They're completely awful. And they're white. Oof, even worse. I would have died. Just died. Or are they black? Gosh, gotta watch that movie. Anyway, that's my take on that. And I am 43 years old, and I am aware of the Fenty Savage show, but I also know who the Logan brothers are. And I also know Nick and Aaron Carter. Rest in peace. So I don't know where that puts me in the age demographic. But there you go, guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Puts you in the awesome age demographic.
Definitely.
And let me tell you something. Thank you so much for this message. I wore a black pencil skirt today, and it was a fucking nightmare all day long. So I feel you.
But what's the point? Gene, as a guy, is there anything that men wear? So women will trade comfort for fashion. Gene, is there anything that you wear or that men wear that you think this is not comfortable, but it's worth me wearing because I look, other than your leather pants that you used to wear, that you look stylish?
Yeah, I think lots of things. Neckties, skinny jeans. There are times when I'm hoisting my leg over the motorcycle and my jeans don't give me quite enough clearance and my heel almost comes off the ground, but I have to be very, very careful in doing that. But the thing is, all of our stuff was designed by men, so we can blame men. Women did not have a choice in the pencil skirt. Christian Dior was like, hey, I got this new look. And we were like, okay, I guess. That was clearly not designed by a woman who would have been like, no fucking way.
Well, I mean, and you wear them because they look good. Like, they make you look good. Like
your ass look like two hams are stuck down the back of your skirt.
Like when you tuck in a nice shirt and throw a short crop blazer on, like you get people to make good decisions that day.
They stay home. They don't go downtown to the boxing match. They stay home.
Oh no, they stay home. So like there is a point to them, but God, if they're not uncomfortable.
No, thank you. Thank you, Teresa, for your voicemail. And to wrap it up, we've got another voicemail from B-Rad.
What's up, guys? It's Bradley from San Antonio, aka B-Rad. It's also my life motto, B-Rad. I just wanted to say I've been a big fan of y'all's podcast since like 2017, I think. I started listening to you guys, and I've listened to every single episode since. Sometimes I've listened to them multiple times over because I love you guys. Y'all have made many car trips and many gym trips very fun. And I even got my wife, which we got married in April, into y'all's podcast as well. If y'all are ever in San Antonio, just let me know. I'll get you some good pizza, some good Vietnamese food, some good Mexican food. There's all kinds of food here. There's all kinds of sorts of things to do. It's a fun city. It's like a big old town. I love you guys, and I'll keep on listening to you for the rest of my life. Bye.
So I can totally agree with that. We go to San Antonio once per year, if not more than once per year. It's fantastic. It is such a better city to go to. I'm sorry, Texas, than Austin. There's a lot more to do in San Antonio. There's a lot more culture and food. San Antonio is fucking awesome.
I've wanted to go to San Antonio since 1984 when I watched Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger, the end.
It's so specific.
It is, because Elliot, the actor who played Elliot, he's running from like some spy who's going to try to kill him. And he's running along that river that they have going through like the center.
It's the Riverwalk.
Yeah, I thought it looked so cool. I remember it from that movie. So I would definitely love to go see that.
All right, do B-Rad's food tour of San Antonio.
Cloak and Dagger, another film we need to do. Have either of you seen it?
No.
Oh, it's so
that Christian Slater?
No, it's the little kid. It's a kid from E.T. It's Elliot.
Oh.
So he gets a video game, and when he finds at the end of the video game that he wins, there's like some like blueprints to new like SR-71 Blackbird. And the spy realizes he's got it, so he comes in. Nobody believes the spy's after him. And it is, people are getting killed. They're getting sniped along the city walk. And he's got an imaginary friend, too, like an imaginary detective who helps him along the way.
This sounds like the most 80s movie of all time. We should do it for B-Rad.
It's probably...
B-Rad, we're going to take this under consideration. We're going to discuss doing Cloak and Dagger and also the food tour of San Antonio. Thank you so much for calling in.
Agreed.
Big D, what do you have coming up next week?
Oh, Gene, I often say this, but next week it is true. This is a must-see movie. This is a big one, and I think a lot of our audience has been clamoring for this. This isn't something obscure like Ice Pirates. Thornton Mellon is concerned that his son Jason is unsure whether to go to college, so the uneducated self-made millionaire encourages him to go to school by signing up as well. As Jason tries to establish himself among his peers and make the diving team, Thornton falls for a pretty professor and gets others to do his homework for him. When the suspicious dean finds out, Thornton needs to show that he can get by on his own. Commissioned by Eric C., came out in 86, and if you've ever wanted to do the triple Indy, I think next week we're going to do it.
If you're a fan of really shitty body doubles doing stunts, this is the movie for you. Well, thank you to all the commissioners who make this podcast possible. That concludes this week's episode of Shat the Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media and share with a friend. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram at Shat the Movies. Email us, host@shatthemovies.com. Support the podcast by shopping our Amazon affiliate link, buying our merch, or commissioning your own movie. Find all information by visiting our website, shatpod.com. Also, check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review TV series such as Lovecraft Country, Westworld, True Detective, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Watchmen. Find all that information on our website, shatpod.com/TV. Wherever fine podcasts can be found, including Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe. And if you stop by Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star review. That helps the podcast grow. On behalf of my co-hosts, Ash and Big D, I'm Gene Lyons. Join us next week for the following movie.
Guess who's getting some class?
I'm going to college.
Rodney Dangerfield's going back to school.
That's what I call marine biology. Hey, boys, here's a couple of pens in case you learn how to write, okay? When I used to dream about going to college, this is the way I always pictured it.
Wait a minute, when did you dream about going to college?
When I used to fall asleep in high school. Here's a book on sex education. Let me see that.
The world's oldest living freshman.
Well, they left out the most important thing. Where to get it.
Say it! Say it!
Good teacher. He really seems to care. About what, I have no idea. Hey, a little something for the kids, okay? Take that, it's okay, huh?
I don't have any kids.
No, because we're here. Get yourself some kids. We're here. Take it all right? What a woman.
She is the teacher.
No, I like teachers. Do something wrong, they make you do it over again. What do you say you and I have dinner tonight?
Actually, I'd like to join you, but I have class tonight.
Why don't you call me sometime when you have no class?
He's not just the big man on campus.
Hey, folks, it's on me. Shakespeare for everyone, okay? You too, honey. Ooh, I'd like to tame your shrew.
He's the wildest man on campus.
Shake it up, baby!
Say when.
Right after this drink.
Rodney Dangerfield, back to school.
Baby. Come on now.